Aino is the most popular female character of Kalevala in art, but her story also has one of the most devastating endings. The Aino myth begins when her brother Jouhakainen, an overconfident young man, hears about the old shaman Väinämöinen and thinks he can beat him in spell singing. Against his parents' advice, Jouhakainen tracks down the old seer, but the battle doesn't really go down as Jouhakainen intended, and Väinämöinen sings Jouhakainen into the marshes. In order to get out of the swamp, Jouhakainen offers Väinö his possessions, his horse, gold and silver, but the old man is not interested until Jouhakainen offers his little sister, Aino, for a cleaner, a cook, a maid. That's when Väinö frees him from the swamp. Jouhakainen rides home in his sleigh all depressed, but when he tells his mother what happened, she's actually delighted to get a rich and famous man into the family. Aino, on the other hand, hears the news and cries for 2 days straight on the stairs. When her mother asks why, she can't make herself outright say that she doesn't want to marry an old creep with a long grey beard and one foot in the grave. So she's dancing around it, saying she wants to keep living at home, running around freely with her hair open and picking berries in the forest instead of tying her hair back and becoming a maid, a cleaner, a cook, an animal feeder and a caretaker for this old man. Her mother doesn't understand at all why her daughter wouldn't just want to marry rich. There's an interpretation of the mother's lack of empathy, that her worldview is just so restricted, she's never seen anything outside of her little village, and she doesn't understand the concept of marrying for love or any other reasons besides the material and purely transactional. In the next poem, Aino is in the woods picking a birch branch wisp for the sauna and she runs into Väinämöinen for the first time. He doesn't introduce himself but just tells her she can't keep wearing jewelry and other decorations for any other man except him. Aino gets all worked up and rips off and throws out her rings, pearls, crosses and red ribbons from her hair and storms off crying again. She thought the old seer would be wiser than to treat her as his possession, but he disappoints her. Aino's mother still doesn't get it and tries to console her by showing Aino her old treasure jewelry and fine fabrics. But Aino wishes she was never born. She's finally ready to explain to her mother that she'd rather die and live in the bottom of the sea with the fish than marry Väinämöinen. After getting that off her chest, she puts on her mother's treasures anyway. Feeling anxious, Aino walks to the sea and sleeps out there for the night, and in the morning sees 3 mermaids bathing at the headland with their long hair down on their shoulders and decides to join them. She swims out there and sits on a rock near them, but the rock falls underneath her and takes her with it. Aino drowns and sinks into the kingdom of fish. As she's drowning, her final words are to tell her family to not take water or fish near the place where she drowned, because the water is her blood, the fish is her flesh, the branches are her bones, and the hay is her hair. Her mother finally realizes she was in the wrong and cries 3 rivers that bring about 3 islets, and on them 3 trees, and in the trees 3 birds that cuckoo for Aino's memory and to remind other mothers to treat their daughters with more respect. Having heard of Aino drowning, Väinämöinen goes looking for Aino in the sea and with his fishing rod catches a creature that's something between a fish and a human. He doesn't recognize it and tries to cut it up with his knife, but it rolls off the boat into the water and proclaims she's no fish for him to cut up and tells him who she really is. It's Aino in mermaid form. Väinö pleads with Aino to come back, but she dives away and is gone forever. She's now the free and independent woman she wanted to be when she was alive, instead of being trapped in other people's expectations. One of the funnier versions is in the children's book Canine Kalevala, where Mauri Kunnas reversed the roles of Aino and Väinämöinen. After the swamp incident, Väinämöinen thinks he's getting just a maid, not a bride. But Aino, on the other hand, is delighted to hear she'll get to marry the shaman. In the forest scene, Aino sees Väinö first and tells him she's his future wife, and Väinämöinen, who's hearing about this for the first time, flees the scene. Later, on a hot day, Väinö decides to go for a swim to cool off, and again Aino appears out of nowhere on her boat trying to catch him. But he dives and manages to swim to an island nearby and hide for several days because Aino wasn't great at rowing a boat. The Kalevala mythology epic was gathered and put together from old Baltic Finnic folktales, and the story of Aino is actually a cleaned up fantasy version of the original and much darker folktale behind it. In the folktale, the OG version of Aino is in the woods, but instead of throwing a temper tantrum and ripping off her jewelry, she got attacked and assaulted by a weird creature who had been stalking and harassing her before, and the anxiety after this assault and possible consequences led her to hang herself. In our censored Kalevala version, Väinämöinen has yet to learn his lesson of leaving young women alone, so the story of Kalevala continues as Väinö mourns Aino, but encouraged by his deceased mother, the goddess Ilmatar is also ready to find another young bride and heads off to Pohjola. Jouhakainen tries to avenge what happened to his sister by secretly following Väinämöinen and shooting him with a bow and arrow while he's crossing a river. Väinö falls into the river and Jouhakainen thinks he's dead, but in reality only his horse got hit, so Väinö himself escapes uninjured. If you want to know what happens next, watch this video. See you then!